Hello everyone again, and welcome back to the P34J channel. And today, we're doing something a little bit different here. Not in the sense that I'm putting another hot take up on my channel, because I'm pretty sure my middle ground, why I enjoy Halo Infinite's gameplay video, does file under the category of hot take. Link to that in the description. But because I have what was called in Faven's Discord 1 year ago by a user the most overly complex and horrible suggestion they had ever seen recommended for Halo. This is actually an idea I've been fantasizing about since I was a kid. The phenomenal physics in Halo, the creations I've seen in Forge, and the assassination animations have fueled my imagination for this idea for over a decade and a half. Spartan Charge, Ground Pound, the melee combat I saw on Death Battle's Red vs. Blue episode. Hell, even that corny ass fight between Master Chief and Spartan Locke. And even today, the awesome fight between Chief and Atriox. All of these experiences are floating around my head, and I'm thinking to myself, what if Halo introduced a fully fleshed out, all melee fighting combat system? Now, before we get into what said fighting mechanics would look like in this mode, in this crazy alternate reality, I'd like to talk about the pros and cons of implementing such a mode. And we're immediately starting with the cons because there is obviously a giant elephant in the room. That needs to be addressed. Demand. Halo has had tens of millions of players over the course of the franchise, with the player base loving the campaign, multiplayer, Forge, and Firefight. Some enjoy classic Halo with its sandbox-based gameplay. Others enjoy new Halo with its advanced mobility mechanics. You want to know how many of those fans were asking for fighting mechanics in Halo? If you guessed 0, then you would be extremely close. The answer is 1. And you're looking at him. Me, P34J. The odds of such a niche idea being approved for the Halo franchise just to pop one Halo fan are non-existent. Guess what? I don't care. A man can dream, and this is a hill that I am willing to fight and die on. I will wage war with the entire Halo community over the implementation of this idea for my own selfish enjoyment. That's right, folks. Come at me. The backlash won't hurt me. And as a matter of fact, just between me and you, kind of only have 100 subscribers right now, and I gotta use a little bit more clout. Feel me? Just keeping it real 100%, you feel me? You feel me? Jokes aside, I wanted to address this point immediately so I don't come off as some sort of delusional crackpot thinking that 343 wants us all to run hands. This is just a selfish fantasy I've had for Halo for a long time, and I thought it would be a fun idea for a video. Since we're already discussing cons though, let's get to the next big blocking factor for this mode: resources. As a matter of fact, this idea would take up more resources than any other idea I've seen for Halo. Probably even a battle royale. Not only would this take an astronomical amount of time and effort away from the devs to work on the core features of the game, such as campaign, multiplayer, and customization, but it would take bucket loads of money, especially if 343 wants to make it a full-fledged AAA experience. Storyboards, animations, motion capture, the whole 9 yards. Even Tekken director Katsuhiro Harada has said that a fighting game would take more than $10 million. And after the absolute glassing that 343 has gone through over the last year, they damn sure don't have $10 million to burn on one mode, or at least not one that doesn't guarantee returns. Microsoft and Xbox do, but they have their hands full with Activision Blizzard. The last con I'd like to discuss is the probability of failure. And I'm not just talking about sales flopping due to the lack of interest or demand. I'm talking about 343's shortcomings as a developer. Every Halo game released by 343 Industries has come with colossal fuck-ups that did nothing but harm the franchise in the long run, to the point to where most of the Halo fanbase has lost faith in 343's ability to launch a quality, feature-complete game. Not only would a fighting game mode make it harder to do so for the rest of the game, the core features, which they have already been unable to do, but who's to say that they can actually successfully execute a fighting game mode? I'd love to see them try, but my hopes would far exceed my faith. And what would be the point of wasting a vast amount of resources that 343 doesn't even currently have for a mode that nobody asked for that might not even be executed properly? I'm going to attempt to answer that question with the pros, and I'll start by flipping my last point on its head, because there's always a chance. What if 343 does create a sleeper success? What if they actually pull off creating a fully fleshed out fighting game mode experience to tag along with the core game? I mean, look at Baldur's Gate 3. Nobody expected that game to be as successful as it is right now, and it is white hot. Now, of course, a fighting game mode in Halo would be a completely different experience, but the point is, sometimes things just pop off. New experiences freshen up a franchise and reinvigorate their fan base. And speaking of the fan base, my second pro would be the expansion of the Halo community. Over the years, Halo has grown its fan base through a variety of experiences, such as campaign, multiplayer, custom games, Forge, Warzone, and Firefight. These experiences each have dedicated sub-communities that connect to each other in various ways. A Halo fighting game community would only add to this melting pot, mainly through connection to the custom games. I'll get to that in just a little bit. A successful fighting game mode in Halo would bring the franchise back into the gear of setting trends instead of following them. In the original trilogy, Halo was the top dog of the FPS genre, and as such, continually set trends that influenced the genre and gaming in general for years to come. Combat Evolved set the bar for console FPS with its controls and two-weapon system. Halo 2 revolutionized online multiplayer and set the bar for what FPS campaign stories should strive for. Halo 3 set a benchmark for community features and introduced a mode that took the franchise by storm: Forge. It wasn't until ODST where Halo began to shift its focus towards following trends, with Firefight, a PvE horde mode, vying for a spot against Call of Duty Zombies. Then came Reach, which introduced advanced mobility mechanics / inherent traits through its armor abilities that completely changed the game and turned off classic fans. Halo 4 made sprint an inherent trait for all players, and Halo 5 introduced movement shooter mechanics and loot boxes. Halo Infinite followed trends by dialing back on the movement mechanics and introducing a divisive battle pass system. For years, there's been rumors about Infinite adding a battle royale mode as well, another popular trend. What if 343 decided to turn heads by allowing us to forcefully turn heads? What if 343 Industries would have just say, fuck it, and release a fighting game mode? And what if it succeeds? I could almost guarantee COD will follow suit down the line, and other shooters will follow eventually. Now, the likelihood of this success is low, given that Forge, Firefight, and Battle Royale were/would be phenomenal complements to /spins on the core Halo gameplay, and an all melee mode would fundamentally change the core Halo gameplay more than ever, in a way that no one is even asking for. But I would honestly predict that as long as the rest of the game would hold up, Halo Nation would get enthralled with the new game mode as we relentlessly beat ass. Admittedly, a fighting game mode for Halo would not complement the core Halo gameplay loop. Trying to do a combo on an enemy who has a gun would either result in ruining the game by giving melee priority over guns, so basically double meleeing from Halo 4 on crack, steroids, meth, and a few perks and mollies, or pointlessness by making unarmed melee underpowered as to avoid the first outcome. So the two modes should be kept separate, one for guns, one for hands. But you know what a melee mode would complement well? Forge and customs. I mean, the Assassinations game mode already exists, And I personally hate that game mode because it's based on you pressing the same button over and over again while trying to get behind your opponent. It's just boring. And it was annoying because that was one of the most prominent modes in Halo 5's custom game browser. As a matter of fact, the only thing I respect about Assassinations is that it is small evidence for a possible audience for a fighting game mode. Or at least that a fighting game mode would be welcome. And if we're going to talk about customs and Forge, we got to talk about my most selfish and stupidest pro for adding a fighting game mode to Halo. Now, I know what you're thinking. Snake, just go play a wrestling game. And my admittedly irrational response is, no, I want to play wrestling in Halo. And that's not even taking into account other creative Forge ideas. What if we could get some 3D platform fighting action on a map like Final Destination from Super Smash Bros? Or hell, Brawlhaven? Or how about we take a walk in the woods through the living forest? Or why don't we do a war game simulation in the hyperbolic time chamber? But you know what else? Hardy LaBelle didn't design Halo to be competitive. He designed it to be a party game. The community found ways to make it competitive. What if we do the same thing to a fighting game mode? Not only by discovering new techniques, but creating maps that are specifically designed for the fighting mechanics and hosting a bunch of tourneys throughout the community. So, now it's time to get to the fun stuff, the meat and potatoes. My vision for what this fighting game mode would be. I'd briefly like to mention a few ideas I've heard of. First, there's something I heard from Faven about Combat Evolved's melee system that could play a factor in this mode. I've also heard that Halo 2 had melee combos that you had to time right. Maybe these ideas can be woven into the fabric of this new system. But my main idea is fully 3D third-person fighting game. So basically the perspective we already play from in Halo, just in third person. Now you don't see many games like these in modern times, as anime fighters like Ninja Storm, Jump Force, and Dragon Ball Xenoverse have this fixed camera angle where the two fighters can switch spots. But that's not the camera angle I'd want for this game, because that would introduce so many unnecessary limits in terms of traversal and line of sight, especially with more than two players. I want full freedom of traversal, with everyone having their own camera, like the Dragon Ball Z, Budokai Tenkaichi, and Raging Blast series. Or hell, even Naraka Blade Point. That perspective carries familiarity that will transfer well from the Halo games we already have. Now, here comes the fun part. The animation and fighting choreography. What would the fighting look like? Definitely not no Locke vs. Chief in Halo 5. That shit was trash. It's gotta be fast-paced, action-packed, graceful, brutal. Something you'd believe Spartans are capable of in a War Games match. The fighting would be majority martial arts based and hard-hitting like Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, or Tekken. Of course, it won't have excessive gore like MK because of the T rating. Lots of punches, kicks, flips, throws, and joint manipulation. But it won't just be martial arts. You know I gotta throw some good old wrestling in there. German suplexes, power bombs, clotheslines, spears, tombstones, DDTs, super kicks, RKOs. The whole 9 yards. Speaking of clotheslines and spears, I'd give every Spartan a running attack to use, as well as diving attacks like moonsaults, 450s, tope suicidas, tope con helos, shooting star presses, tornado DDTs, drop kicks, ground pound from Halo 5, or even a ground stomp. Let's just say that if Epic Potato Lord were to help develop this mode, he would have a field day. What mechanics would I have in this mode? Well, I'm not a fighting game developer, nor am I a high-level fighting game player, so I'll speak on mechanics from the perspective of general fighting game features and fun. I'd probably have two buttons for striking, light and heavy. along with at least one grapple button. The rest of the functions would pretty much all be transferred from Halo Infinite: sprint, slide, jump, interact, crouch, strafe, clamber, etc. There'd be a block button that, when timed correctly, can result in a parry. The interaction button would be used in the same way it's used in traditional Halo, to open doors, drop ramps, and pick up weapons and enter vehicles. Hold on a minute. Doesn't that directly contradict everything I just said and defeat the entire purpose of this mode? Hey, I said this mode would be important for custom games earlier. So if a creator wants one guy to have a gun or vehicle as a power advantage in a variant of this mode, we're gonna give it to him. And guns, melee weapons, and fusion coils won't be the only objects available for players to pick up. There will also be a slew of forgeable items that can be picked up and used/thrown as weapons, such as camping stools, monitors, pallets, potted plants, vending machines, benches, shelves, trash cans, pipes, cables, tires, rocket ammunition cases, toolboxes, crates, tables, ladders, and chairs. You'd also be able to set up these objects in a physical position almost any way you'd like. I don't know how I'd handle the frame data, because again, I am no pro in fighting game development, but I'm sure the devs at 343 or any devs collaborated with on this mode would be able to work that out. Or, maybe they can't work that out. 343's track record, you know how that goes. Finally, equipment and power equipment would be in this mode, so you'd be able to grapple drop kick the soul out of someone's chest, or do a hit and run with a quantum translocator. Halo has always had phenomenal physics that stand out not just in first-person shooters, but in the gaming industry in general. This game would provide no exception to that rule. Not only would the general physics from traditional Halo carry over to the fighting mode, but every Spartan's hitbox would react to collision with every object in the game if slammed into them. So certain objects would break, collapse, or explode if a player gets kicked or tackled through them. As for more solid objects, collision detection would be similar to modern WWE games, where you can basically slam anyone into anything. There would be a wall stun mechanic for combos, like in Street Fighter. And there may even be a wall crash mechanic similar to Dragon Ball Raging Blast. Also, animations would be interruptible by collision, similar to the WWE games on Nintendo GameCube. So if you were doing a combo or grapple, and a third party decides to strike you, grapple you, throw a pallet at you, or dive on top of you, your animation will get interrupted, and you and the person you were beating on will take damage. These physics would make for an absolutely chaotic mode, where you constantly have to watch your back and surroundings. These wacky physics would make for maximum carnage and arcadey fun. My final idea for this mode would be yet another avenue for customization: custom movesets. Because why not let every Spartan decide exactly how they want to inflict pain? There's going to be plenty of options and unique combo strings as well. You're going to be able to juggle enemies in the air, to jump in the air with them and knock them to the ground. You're going to be able to head scissor your enemy to the ground and snap their arm. There's going to be bicycle kicking, leading to a spinning elbow drop. You'd also be able to grab a Spartan by the legs and just ragdoll them everywhere. There may even be finishing blows that you can feel the meter of through combat that will result in an automatic kill or at least high damage. Basically, use your imagination for the kind of violent taijutsu based stunts you can pull, and chances are it would be in the game. And there you have it, folks. Thank you all for taking this wacky trip through the mind of P34J. I've had this idea in my mind for at least over a decade, so I thought it would be a fun idea to share with you all. So if you were to make a fighting game mode, what ideas would you have? What ideas of mine would you have changed? Did you think this was a stupid idea for Halo? If so, make sure to leave a dislike, comment, and subscribe to the channel below. I also just created a secondary channel, P34J Play, where I'm going to put up all of my gaming highlights and stream highlights. I do stream on Twitch, And although I have been single for my entire life, I do have an ex. Don't know how I did that, but follow me on those platforms. Thank you all for hearing my overly complex and horrible idea for Halo out. This is P34J. I'm Fleecy. Y'all have a good one.